So out of 50 teams, they won 3 out of 4 competitions of the event. The TUM CDTM Anthropic Hackathon, the Lovable Challenge, and the ElevenLabs Challenge. They really have achieved something extraordinary, and we're really happy to have them here tonight. And it doesn't seem to be a one-hit wonder. Later, the team went on to win the Tech Europe OpenAI Munich Hackathon and the Hackathon 25 SAP Challenge. They didn't know each other prior to the event. They met on a Discord server just before the event. This is certainly an incredible, stunning performance. So tonight we'll try to break down what actually created their success. We'll look at what happened during the hackathon, and later on we'll see where they stand today and what's left of the initial product. So next you'll see a short video that would win the hackathon. This was built next to the code. And now we'll have the video.
Let me tell you 3 stories, all connected by Vita AI, a tool that builds a smoother, more human connection with patients by proactively reaching out at just the right time. Meet Ravi. He was just discharged from a hospital. While he did receive a discharge consultation, he arrives home confused due to translation issues in the process. But thankfully, his doctor thought of this and set a one-time reminder to help explain it to him in his mother tongue.
आपको सुबह 8 बजे मेटफॉर्मिन की एक गोली.
Then there's Paul, German retiree, living alone and very grumpy. His doctor worries. Paul has no family to check in on him after his back surgery. To help out, he schedules a daily check-in call to see how he's been feeling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Altman.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Natürlich. Ich rufe von der Praxis Dr. Schröder an. Wir wollten einfach mal schauen, wie es Ihnen zurzeit geht.
Danke der Nachfrage.
For Paul, who spends most days without anyone to talk to, this becomes more than a medical check. It becomes a lifeline. Let's not forget about Daniel, a passionate traveler that has regular checkups he needs to get. His doctor decides to implement a check-in to make sure he doesn't no-show for appointments.
Hello?
Daniel, checking in to see if you can make it to your appointment tomorrow.
I'm pretty sure Daniel will be missing his appointment. 3 calls, 3 stories. Discharge confusion, lonely patients that can't share their problems and missed appointments. Everyday problems that doctors' offices face. With Vita AI, every call becomes simple, personal, but most importantly, human.
Achim and Paul, I understand this was your first hackathon. What was the real event like in contrast to what you expected it to be like?
I mean, I came with no expectation. I had no clue because it was my first overall hackathon. I came from a software engineering background, working 2 years in corporate, and this was I want to give it a bit more the entrepreneurial spirit, and found this hackathon, then found this Discord server. I mean, how was it for you, Achim?
I just wanted to get my heads free, so the hackathon started on Wednesday, and I recently became a father. I also got laid off previous on Friday, and then there was this weekend, and then Wednesday was the hackathon, so it was just like small vacation.
That's really, really good. And now, can you take us back to the hackathon, to the days, Wednesday, September 26th at 2:30, at the start of the event, to the day where the final deadline on Friday, September 28th, where you at 12 o'clock submitted your work. And I think we have some pictures, so we can maybe walk through the pictures.
Perfect. So a quick story about how we met. There was a Discord server right before the hackathon, as you heard, and there was a team saying, oh, we are 2 guys, one does front-end really well, I'm working in back-end, we're looking for some entrepreneurial spirit, we want to found some other crack people. So I thought, oh, sounds like a good idea. I applied, met up with them. Until the very last day before the event, we had no 5th person because we thought we need 5 people to have the best chances, distribute tasks and all that stuff. So in the very last moment, Achim came in. No one expected it.
So I just because I had trouble, with the job and getting off of it, I didn't read the rules, and on the very last day, I just saw, okay, there's a group of this hackathon, there's a Discord server, so a Discord server is like a huge WhatsApp groups with some sub-WhatsApp group, and this is what mostly people use for gaming to communicate with each other, and I'm not so familiar with it, used to be with it, and then, I just saw on the last day, okay, I have to just present myself, and I wrote down, okay, I worked at a startup, which was at Y Combinator, so I had this YC mark on me, and then I wrote down those guys. I applied to many teams. I think they were the first which just answered back like, yeah, you can just join us. And that was only because their fifth guy, he didn't answer properly, the potential fifth guy. So because he missed the chance to join this team, I got into this team. And the rest is history, I think, somehow.
Let's maybe look at some of the pictures.
So this was the room where we started to build, and I always get emotional when I see the pictures again, because it was just like five random guys meeting there just with one mission, one conviction, and we built, I think, we didn't build actually anything. Yeah. We just discussed. We discussed what we will build, and we had like not even 2 days. We just had 1 day, and it was just, we were under pressure, but I think at a hackathon, or what this time means when you're working under pressure, it comes, everything that you learned and which mistakes to avoid, it counts here. Because you know exactly what you're not doing. And what we did was going through different ideas, and we were all convicted, okay, we want to build something in healthcare, because it really helps people in the end. And then we were like, okay, before we build, we will talk to customers, potential customers. We know we will not sell it, but just validate the idea. So we called my uncle, he's a doctor, my brother, who's a doctor, and my cousin, who's a doctor. So it was kind of obvious which direction this will go. And then.
But we had other ideas too. I mean, it was a tough discussion in the end. We had also ideas about going into logistics or into the finance world. But then in the end, we all came to the conclusion, it's not what we care about so much. So we thought we want to make an impact, more of an impact. So in the end, it was healthcare. Yeah, that was what's led us there. And we didn't, as Achim said, so the hackathon kicked off at 18, so at 6 p.m. and we didn't code till 11 p.m. So just discussions, getting very clear on the problem we want to solve.
Small correction, we didn't code at all at this night. We started coding on the very next day. So we had this idea in the end, but then everyone went to kind of fake sleep because everyone was excited for the next day. And from 11 p.m. we met again at 7 a.m. on the next day. And no one wanted to come late because the one who comes late had to bring all the food. So we started right away at 7 a.m. And then we built Vita AI, maybe the next slides. Yeah, we we submitted then our idea. Vita AI, we used to call it. It was basically an idea where doctors are using AI to call the patients for different use cases, as you just saw in the video. And out of 30 submissions, look at there, we were top 5. And this was a huge moment for us, being just in the top 5. And we said even before, if we are in the top 5, it's a win for us. I mean, come on, top 5 out of 300 people and 40, 50 teams. And then they played our video there, and then the audience could decide, okay, who's going to win. And maybe next slide. Yeah, as you can see, we were, there were like 800 people, and we are very grateful to have won the Publikumspreis, the audience prize. And yeah, Paul, the prizes, you see it again. It's crazy.
It's a good moment. It's a crazy moment. We didn't expect it at all. And not only the Publikumspreis or audience award, we also won the side challenges. And this was for the best designed app. So for this one, maybe we get more into it later, into a bit of the tech. We happily used Lovable. And then we had also another award for the best agent in voice AI. This was with ElevenLabs back then. Yeah.
We won the main prize by Anthropic, and we won the ElevenLabs challenge and the Lovable challenge. So there were 4 prizes, and we won 3 out of 4. I mean, it's obvious, or you can kind of guess why we didn't get the 4th one. But yeah, we won there, and it was a very, very grateful or big moment for us, being called on stage at Audimax at TUM. Maybe in the next slide you can see the stage. You can see the place, and yeah, it was. We got so high that we said on the next day, okay, we need to calm down. So we sat on the ground together at my home. We had breakfast on the ground just to realize what's going on there and not to fly. And yeah, we got tickets also for Bits and Pretzels. And we went there, validated our idea more. Also, business angels right away approached us right after the hackathon. Shout out to Fabian, legend. And yeah, it's cool.
So, from what you told me is that maybe one of your biggest advantages seemed to have been the timing. It looks intentional, not lucky. So you mentioned already no code on the first day. What were your concrete day goals for the first day, and what did you maybe not do? How did you get to a consensus?
So in the beginning, Achim can tell as well, we were not sure at all. So one guy, Darren, he was very focused on just getting a speech cloned. Then it was me and Samir who wanted to do something with calling retirees automated, and then was Achim who had also the healthcare background, but also we had discussions about finance. And then in the end, yeah, everyone took their points and we came to the conclusion, like we said, we took really long. And that's where the best, I think that was very valuable in the end, to not start coding right away, but really focus on the problem at hand, focus at the challenge the hackathon had, take a look at the jury, yeah, and then start thinking a lot, and then when the plan was done, then start only executing, but not before. I don't. Maybe you want to add something?
No, that was roundabout. There was a salad of ideas that we had. And then I think I said just like, okay, why don't we use the calling the retirees using a speech, something, and connect these ideas. And then we had like, okay, let's call the patients for the doctors. And then we just called real-time doctors to really validate the idea. And they said to us that the medical assistant, so basically the medizinische Fachangestellte, it's like one of the rarest people at the job market, and that's why they have to like do something which can help them at work, not doing so much administrative work, because 40% of a work of a medical assistant is administrative work, and we need to help with that. And I mean, I'm using AI. Everyone uses AI for so many different things. I mean, there's even absurd situations where I use AI, and it helped. It really helped. It made a change. And I think why we're not giving this tools, this ability to one of the most critical parts of our society, and this is regarding healthcare, because everyone gets sick at some point, and everyone knows the situation right now at the doctor is not very. It's not a pleasure to go to a doctor. Besides the reason, but also the whole organization about it.
Walk us through day 2. What had to be finished by the end of day 2, and what did you leave open?
We had a big goal in the end of day 2. We want to have all of the code complete basically at day 2. So on the last day we would focus on the video. So that was our mission, and luckily there wasn't just tech guys. So in this situation we had also Achim, who was kind of the spectator from the outside. Maybe if it was just for us tech guys, we wouldn't have coordinated so well. And he did a bit of the project management thing, because sometimes we see that hackathons, or even happened to myself, that you get sidetracked and not organized, and having some guy helping you with the project management really was key. And so we said team 1 on day 2 does the video production and the pitch, and the second team does the code and coding the app. So that was day 2. And I think we spent quite a decent amount of time on the video and also on the pitch. I think Achim can get more deep into that.
Yeah, I think you said it very well. So we had like this division of tech and creative, and I was working like in the creative part. And I mean, it's, first of all, splitting up a hackathon in such a department is like, I think one of the key things how to win such a thing or how to manage under pressure. And then we always reminded each other of the deadlines. And the key was just, I think, the mix of combination of the different backgrounds. Me with the creative part and also the tech, of course, the product part, and you guys with the like making these things work, basically. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, magic, like the magic part you do. And yeah.
Tell us about what happened on the second day with regards to the video. What did you do on the second day?
So we had the idea for the video on the evening of on the second day, and on the second day we filmed. Exactly, no. On the second day we filmed, and there we told everyone, okay, guys, what you have at home, which can help us with the film. So I just brought random stuff, like medical stuff from my daughter as requisite. Okay, this is like medicine. I think you, Samir, brought a jacket from his family, like from his grandpa, to which a video, and then he could just act with it. And then we just, we did the best of our situation. So we used like the entrance of the library of TUM, and we used it as the entrance of the hospital. And then we played some ambulance sounds, and even with a sound effect from left ear fade to the right ear and everything. And I think this obsession with details was just what differentiated us from other teams.
We got a bit creative too. So in our setting, we had to find a jungle. So if someone of you know TU Mensa, there's a brick wall and there's some efeu hanging down. So we used that as a jungle, and it worked for our Pokemon trainer. And we could bring over so small details like this, and also Achim's performance as the Indian dad who cannot understand his doctor, and all of that. These small creative details, I think. But it was not just that. It was also half the video and also half the code, of course. We have to deliver something. Eh? It's.
I mean, you also played a phenomenal role as a grumpy granddad from Marzahn, like pointing the fingers to playing kids. Yeah.
What was left for day 3? How did you close?
Yeah, it was about to submit the idea. We were still not fully ready until I think the last 5 minutes. And then the video cutting took more time than expected, but we had, I think the good timing in the end. We submitted it. We had a full 2 minutes in the video, but I think we grew together there somehow because it was constantly pressure, and it was also like a form of trust. They were just listening and following and just trying to accept what's happening here. But in the end, it was, it paid out.
Paid out very well indeed. And also shout out to Kenny for his cutting skills. He helped us there while Achim was the creative one. And then, like Achim said, till the very last minute, we worked on it. Although we didn't work through the night, so I think our time management helped us with that. We didn't have to work a single night, so we would always finish at 1 or 12 and then start fresh in the morning. I think that helps also have a clear mind and focus on things.
Now, let's walk back to the first evening and to AI. So you mentioned that you called you mentioned you had several ideas, and you mentioned you called your relatives who are doctors. How did you use AI in that idea generation, market research, validation phase?
So of course we had limited time in this validation phase. We want to get a lot information in. So we had Achim's network, his family, as you heard, but that wasn't enough, of course. So we used just basically ChatGPT to do some market research. What's needed in healthcare? What's the blocking points? And help us challenge our ideas a bit. What's needed? What's maybe already there? And kind of this quick prototyping augmented with AI was really helpful because you don't have the time to do all the customer calls for a hackathon. But you should in the end when you build a product, as we learned.
Is there anything that AI said or told you not to do, and that changed your ideas? I mean, can you maybe explain one of the situations there?
So we're not allowed to give medical advice. So we're not allowed to. ChatGPT told us that's very, very early. Like, you cannot answer back anything. You're just basically the transmitter between information. And I think we kind of also anticipated that, but yeah, this was one of the things that we noticed very early.
Did you? I mean, that's like, in a sense, you used AI to challenge your ideas and to see where that'll get you. Maybe let's go to next step, to coding. Maybe just briefly explain what kind of tools you used during the session and how you switched between them, or something that gives us an insight.
Sure. So I'm a backend engineer. I mostly worked in Java and SQL or GraphDBs, but never really touched a lot on the front end. So the hackathon was my first kind of contact point with Lovable, and really surprised me how well that worked. We designed a fully functional UI just on the UI side in just a couple of maybe minutes, and then refined it, of course. But the basic design was so fast, and I was so surprised of that. So for the coding part, we made sure we were using all of the AI tools they were giving us. So they were giving us credits for Lovable, of course, which was great. And they were giving us credits to Claude. So we used Anthropic for the LLM. And also, personally, I use Cursor, because I know many of you guys like probably Claude Code, because you like to work in terminals. I like the quick, fast, iterative way of Cursor. Maybe there's a half and half kind of situation, what people prefer. And yeah, we used basically all of the AI tools they gave us to make it possible. But we also didn't over-engineer. We just made it working so that it was possible to show it, and didn't go into the details so much. So we didn't have a database set up. We had it all in memory, and just to work fast.
What I did was, when I had the idea for the video driving back home on the first evening, I used ChatGPT. I talked to ChatGPT, or I recorded all my notes in my head, and I said, just make a structured video line of it. And I think that helped very well, like using AI in the right moment to collect your thoughts and to organize your thoughts.
That's a sweet idea. And now maybe about your experience with ElevenLabs. Maybe you can talk about that.
ElevenLabs, yeah, that was great. We had initially a bit of a problem getting a phone number, so we used Twilio, and you had to find a way to get a number fast registered. So we ended up with a Finnish number, but it worked in the end. And then we had our first ElevenLabs call, and this was quite impressive how well the quality was. And on the second day, we also pitched a prototype to a VC who was there, and she was also amazed. And then we had the basic product, and went really fast. You can refine the agent really, really well in ElevenLabs, really fast in the UI. You can give it prompts. You can attach a knowledge graph or a rag to it, and yeah, then you can work with it really fast.
And I think you in the video you also used it. That was quite nice, didn't you?
Yes, we use ElevenLabs as the background speaker, and what took a little bit longer than expected was agreeing on the right voice. So, like, one of our co-founders wanted to have like a British accent, like he pushed for it, and I was just like questioning, okay, why is he pushing so much for it? There has to be something. But I said, we just said like, okay, let's not do it. And the background, and when we saw the other videos, they didn't use the ElevenLabs as a background voice, and we were just wondering why. I mean, it was pretty obvious, but yeah.
Now let's walk to the next team. I think your team structure was pretty awesome. You had a right mix of people. How do you think that structure helped you to achieve the outcome, the winning of the prizes?
I think what united us all, though to the different backgrounds, ages, and everything, was the pure conviction to this critical mission. I think we all realized, okay, we have someone in our family which suffers at some point more than us and needs healthcare or needs to go to the doctor pretty often, and no one could say like, okay, that's something which is going very well in Germany or in Munich, and we all agreed, okay, it needs us basically, because we have the technical access, we are updated what's going on in San Francisco and Silicon Valley, and we want to bring in what's there and make it useful for the people here. And first of all, I mean, we all had personal cases, and we all could tell, okay, there's a big problem. And I think this conviction and really being obsessive about this idea, and we really hyped this up each other. Like, we're like, okay, we have to do this. It's super urgent, and we're so advanced in many other things, and we're so backwards in this. And why actually? I think that's why actually it was like, driving us.
Yeah.
And now you mentioned that there are two deliverables. One is the code and one is the video. But then the voting for the public was, for the audience, that was basically, they had 5 videos and they could select one winner. Like, if you maybe give some advice to the people, if you do a hackathon, how do you emphasize, where do you put more energy into the code or in the video, or probably the other 2 prizes they were given by ElevenLabs and Lovable, they were based on the code, or maybe you can explain a bit how that worked.
So maybe us techies, or myself at least, maybe we think, the pitch is not important. We leave it to the very last minute. I don't want to do it. I don't want to present. I don't want to do any of this. So I think that was a key part to focus also on the pitch, not just the product, because the best product, as we all know, doesn't do anything or has no impact if you can't sell it. And even in a hackathon, you have to sell and have to put focus on that. I think that was one of our learnings, and thanks to our team diversity, we had some different ideas about that. So that was helpful. You want to add something?
No, I think you said it quite well. Like, we also covered the marketing part, basically, like how we're going to present it and how we make it approachable. And I think.
What do you suggest not to have in a demo?
Too many features. That's the killer of probably every early stage startup, collecting features without validating, without talking to any customer, basically. And I think what we did was, okay, we just radically show 2 use cases, but still the same feature, and we're not expanding or we're not adding any unnecessary features which we didn't validate it before.
Exactly. No gimmicks, no fine tuning, no database connections. Just a pure idea and a workable prototype for it. Yeah, like Achim said.
And now, if you think about the other 4 videos that you see that the other teams were presenting, why do you think you won? Is there anything that you think that made Vita AI's video very special?
I think if I would knew that, we would win every hackathon that we will participate. I think right idea, right time, right moment, right team. Destiny, I don't know.
All came together, luckily.
You went on to participate in 2 more hackathons, and in each one you actually won another prize. Is there anything that you've learned, that you took away from those other hackathons?
Never build on the first day. Maybe something, validate the idea, challenge the idea, fall in love with the problem first, then with the solution, and make sure the teammates you're all are aligned, and you can work under pressure. And pressure is not always something which is fun. And especially when you're with strangers, you don't know the limits of others. You have to like find out this too. But yeah, I think this is like the most critical things.
Paul, obviously you've proven that you can work well under stress. How do you handle friction in the team?
Friction in the team, we naturally have some of that. Achim knows, because it's always the 3 techies versus 1 sales guy.
I didn't have this right here 4 months before.
So, but the thing is that we are still we can bring our problems to the point, and we communicate openly. I think that's the basic, and we trust. We have also trust in each other's abilities. I mean, everyone has different key capabilities. Achim is for sure better in sales and all of that. Maybe it's the other way around in code, and with that we kind of add to each other. In the end, we still align. I mean,
yeah, and also I think the mission again. We're all aligned on the mission. Yeah. We want to make people's life better, as generic as it sounds. But what we do is really making people's life better, and not only on the doctor side, but mostly on the patient side. And but the friction comes naturally. Also, warmth comes with friction, so it's all good. And but I think the mission is most critical, which unites us. And also Darren, Paul, Samir. It's a pleasure to work with them. I mean, it's very unusual to have 4 co-founders, especially 1 sales, 3 technical. It's sometimes super exhausting, but in the end, it's I think very, very fun what we do also. It's a pleasure. It's like a biggest privilege in life to work in such a startup. And he recently released a podcast. We had a podcast with Munich startup, Pitching People, episode 16. Find it on Spotify. And when I listened to the podcast, I was like jealous. I was like, I want to work there. It was so cool. And then really, I'm there. But it was super humbling to have this experience.
So after the hackathon, you decided to actually continue the project, and so you validated the problem during the hackathon, and then you went on, I think, to validate the product or the idea. Can you walk us through the process, and what did you have to change actually for doctors to like it?
So after the hackathon, the real work started. So luckily we got a ticket for Bits and Pretzels, which was a really amazing experience too. One day we were just doing a hackathon, and then the next day at Bits we were talking to VCs and pitching our ideas, even talking about millions in funding or seed. I mean, we had no idea what we're doing, and we were just learning and gathering all this atmosphere. And I think that was very different. The Bits, we had also our first talks with Microsoft, with Michael Sarnau, which he now posted on LinkedIn. He supported us, luckily. He still remembered our first exchange also as intense, and was interesting for him, so it stuck in his mind, which is good. And then we did a lot. After that, we did a lot of LinkedIn outreach and calls. I think maybe Achim can go into that.
Yeah, I think the Bits and Pretzels experience is still stuck with me. But also we realized early, okay, we're onto something obvious. Also then what we did was actually we utilized the ecosystem of the Munich startup ecosystem. So we looked, okay, where can we apply, how we can integrate ourselves there. So coming from TUM and CDTM and TUM AI, we talked to them, we reached out to them, and we're like, okay, what can we guys do now? Where do you see us? And they said like, okay, go there, apply there at this program, do this program. And right now we're like validating which programs we should do. And I think for everyone, this is like one of the biggest luxuries we have here, is this accessible ecosystem given by Unternehmertum, by Straschek Center, by Vira. We are right now residents at Vira. Vira is like the startup accelerator of Telefonica. And if you do some research there, you can see plenty of opportunities.
And can you maybe dive into a bit of the validation of the product, or how did it evolve after? I mean, you basically told us you built a prototype, not a lot of features. How did that evolve?
Yeah, so what we did also, like Paul said, we did reach out on LinkedIn to doctors. So we explained them what we do, where we come from. And in LinkedIn, as you know, you can filter very well. And we filtered to doctors which are fitting to our ICP, to ideal customer profile. And then we presented them what we do. And we were surprised how many answers we got back. So we did, in the end, more than 50 user interviews. And out of these 50 user interviews, we got into like 5 letter of intents. And we also did some code development. So right now we have like a small board of doctors, which we call every week and present them our updates. And they advise us, okay, look, this is what we need, this is what we don't need. And out of this, even our first pilot customer turned into a business angel into us, because he was so convicted that we're doing something good and this is needed, and he could solve his own problem with this first. And we were lucky to have him. So we don't have any medical background, but also on purpose. But for this, we get this outside input. And I think there's a really misunderstanding that doctors are very approachable outside of the usual cases. And it's also a very cool feeling when a doctor wants something from you, because normally it's, you need them, but it's very weird.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And as Achim said, they're very open. We said, do you have time for a user interview? We developed this cool product which could help you, really short messages, and a lot of them replied and said, yeah, it's fine. And then we got the interviews. And I think, coming back to your questions, what was different after the user interviews, we learned that regulation is a very big topic, of course. We couldn't do some features because features we thought would be good in the hackathon, but then it turned out we can't do them because then the product would be a medical product instantly and high-risk AI classified in the EU. So which incurs big legal fees, as we've heard, 50,000 or 10 to 50,000 it can be. So then we cut off these features for now and focus on the core ones. That was a learning. So we learned we couldn't do some things like we thought we could do.
Can you explain what's your main use cases now after validation?
So we cut it down to 4 main use cases, which are AI anamnesis. So AI calls you, and before you are at the doctor's office, you can speak to the AI about your problems. And right away, when you sit there, the doctor has everything clear there, and you can do it in your mother tongue. And the other one is batch calling, like we can call like up to, officially of a new advertisement, which our model provider said, up to 1 million people at once. We're not so sure about that yet, but we can call like a bunch of people at the same time. For example, when it's about to have a check-in at the office, at the praxis again. Also, we have lab results, like, hey, the last blood test, everything is fine. I know you get this right now via email and also via SMS, but there's still a use case for this where you have this on the phone, especially when you have to make an appointment back once the results require the doctor. And the last feature, but not least, is
also the no-show reminder, because a lot of people, or some people, tend to forget. Even I know some doctors' offices have reminders via SMS or email, but you can't reach some of the population, quite a share, especially the retirees, or like my grandma. She wouldn't probably bother about an email. So giving them a call makes a difference, especially for some specialist practices which have really expensive time slots, and then the patient wouldn't show up, and it's unlucky for them and for both sides, actually, because they can't make the appointment. Yeah.
Yeah, and once maybe we did some research also, and where we saw like, okay, there's like the doctor offices loses up to 120,000 euros a year because of the no-shows. And as Paul said, there's some specific departments like radiology. When they turn up the machines and the patient is not coming, it costs them lots of money. And also there's so many avoidable sicknesses and sadly also deaths because of wrong medication taking or because of not enough check-ins at the doctors. And it's avoidable. And that's why we are trying to leverage AI to really avoid or make a change in this bad statistics.
Now, looking at your pilots, I understand you've set up a couple of pilots. Can you tell us about how the setup is? What's the focus, the goal? What use cases are you going to build within or have the doctors trial with the pilots?
So our core use case is a lot of doctors have routine calls. They have their medical assistants. They get caught up in the calls, either incoming calls of patients just asking some basic questions. We can answer them. We're working on booking appointments also, and also doing all the routine outreach calls, like Achim said, communicating the lab results. But also, as we've learned, with no leverage to tell them if they're good or bad, of course, because we can't do that. It's an AI, and all of that basically. So we help the medical assistants to get back to their core work, not just being on the phone, but having time for more of their medical tasks actually. And the routine work, the AI can help with that. I think. Do you want to add?
Any lessons learned regarding the pilots?
Every day, like every hour, basically. Like after every call, I'm like, okay, questioning everything what we do. But it's ups and downs, and I think biggest lessons is to really go in with a clear mind, not have any biases, of course. And other lesson is that speak as much as you can to the people that you expect that they pay you. Speak as much as you can. Show them that you're interested in their daily doing, in their problems and the obstacles that they have, and try to make them really like you, of course, and like the product. And if they are aware enough of the problem and it's a real problem for them, then the sales part is really a smooth process.
Yeah, nothing more to add. I mean, then the product speaks for itself, and then we can focus on building and selling and don't need the convincing part so much. That's the best kind of sales.
What are your goals, milestones for this year?
So, of course, we want to, we have the small network of doctors. Of course, we want to expand on that to really have an impact. We want to have at least 1,000 doctors' offices in Germany connected by the end of this year. We need some help with that. We joined some networks. We recently joined TUM Venture Labs Healthcare, which is really helpful with them. We just had a call with a mentor today, which was great. And then also, like Achim said, the mission is making this technology accessible to people who otherwise would not use AI, like my grandma when she calls in the doctor's office. Maybe then she gets more time at the doctor's office because the doctor actually has time to get her anamnesis call properly in. Because when you know it, when you're in the doctor's office, you have 7 minutes or even less, maybe 2. And if the call is conducted in the beginning, then the doctor can better gauge or get his verdict on the patient. He has more time in the end because we outsource it to the AI.
Yeah, I think better verdicts, as Paul said, it's the critical thing that we want to do. We want to give doctors back the pleasure at a job and also give patient at this sometimes life-changing patient journey, give them access to the best out of technology there. And I think there's so much things that we still need to do, and every one of us. I mean, as Paul said, there are old people or people who are not familiar with AI and technology. I think it's dividing us, not bringing us together. And I think we are trying to build a bridge between two worlds. And as Paul said, we need every help with that. If you know networks, doctors, clinics, just approach us and speak to us. Also, our LinkedIn is probably in the next slide. I think, if I'm allowed just to advertise this. But yeah, approach us just and help us in this critical mission.
So thank you. So honored to have you had here as our guest tonight. To close, what is your summary in 1 or 2 sentences before we open the to questions from the audience?
For myself, I would say if you're at the hackathon, build, explore as much as possible, and then turn the idea also into reality. Do the user interviews, do all of that, and yeah, don't just leave it a hackathon project. Just out of my own experience, the road is it was an incredible journey, I have to say.
Yeah, and I think never underestimate compounding. Compounding in a personal way is very underestimated. Show up, be present, go to those hackathons. I wasn't an enrolled TUM student when there was this hackathon. Everyone could just go there basically, and never underestimate compounding.
Thank you so much, Achim and Paul. Thank you everybody for coming here tonight. Thank you very much